save me. No. Okay, so today we're going to do the ankle sprain, or ankle tape job specifically for an inversion tape job. I'll talk about what you would do differently if it's eversion. Okay, but most of the ankles you're going to sprain are inversion, and we tell students if they have an eversion to make sure to tell the person they're taping that it's eversion, because it's really just not very common. Okay, so the first thing you would do is you'd spray them down. I'm not going to spray down Patrick, nor do you have to spray each other down when you're practicing, but you'd want to use a tape adherent because we're using pre-wrap. If you use pre-wrap and don't use a tape adherent, it's like putting a sock on somebody. It's just going to slide off. Okay, so anytime you use pre-wrap, you have to use the spray. You can also use the spray with just the tape as well. You also are going to want to use heel and lace pads. They've kind of got a little smear of Vaseline on there. They go at the laces and on the heel, and that helps keep from having the tape cut into what becomes a real kind of spot of friction. The pre-wrap is a spongy type of tape. It's non-adhesive. We've talked about it before in terms of providing a cushion. There's no magic way to put the pre-wrap on. You just roll it around. Slide towards me. And you want to pre-wrap probably about 6-8 inches up the calf. Essentially, the first piece of tape should be right where the gastroc muscle comes into the Achilles, so right about there. And then I go all the way out to the foot. You'll have students that say, tape it shorter, don't tape it out as far on the foot. In terms of leverage, it won't hold as well. The further out you get it, in terms of levers, the more force you can get further out on the levers, the better support it's going to provide. The tighter in you are against the ankle, it's not going to do a whole lot. Okay, so if you're putting a tape job on and you want it to do a whole lot, spread it out a little bit. Okay, we're going to start with anchors. Ideally, you want to anchor to the skin. Sorry, Patrick. You want to anchor about a 1/2 inch to the skin. If they get taped on a regular basis, they probably should shave their legs. And we're going to put 2 anchors at the top. The anchors at the top typically are angled up towards the knee. As we work our way down towards the foot, that angle is going to change. We're going to put one at the midfoot. It doesn't need to be way down by their webbing on the skin. This one is the one that we're most concerned about. We're going to start with 3 stirrups. The first stirrup attaches to the top anchor, goes directly over the malleolus, medial malleolus, and back to the top anchor. You want them to stay in a 90-degree position while you're taping them, otherwise you're going to get a big wrinkly mess. And we're going to put 3 stirrups on, fanning them out as we go. And then I re-anchor those. And you'll see a variety of tape jobs. This is not a basket weave. Sometimes you'll see people do a basket weave. If you've ever seen Brooke tape, here she tapes in a basket weave, which is essentially a stirrup, an anchor, a stirrup, an anchor, a stirrup, an anchor. It doesn't matter. You can do them either way. Then I'm going to close down, and you'll note that the tape ends, so the tape ends started here. As I work my way down towards the bottom anchor, the midfoot anchor, those are going to change kind of the direction that they're facing. And if you don't change the direction you're facing, you're going to end up with gapping in the back, okay, where dirt and all sorts of other crap can go in. And you want the close-up strips to anchor from the top anchor to the midfoot anchor. Those have to attach all the way. Then you're going to close up the arch, and I usually close the arch the same way as I pull the stirrups. And you're going to be pulling this person into eversion. Okay, we want to protect them against inversion. The best position to put them in to protect them is to put them in eversion. So we're going to pull into eversion. Just like in the arch, we want to pull their arch up. We want to put them in a position where they're not going to have further injury occurring. Okay? Questions to this point?
Okay. Like when you move down the leg for the things, it seems like instead of kind of going straight around, you went like at the end went farther, kind of you went some more of a teardrop shape versus a circular shape.
Well, I'm trying to make my connection all the way down to this anchor, and if I try to do it here, it's going to end up being a wrinkly mess. Okay. Okay. What's the most common ligament damage in an inversion sprain? What ligament are you most likely to damage? Okay, anterior talofibular sits here. The next part of this tape job is the heel locks. Easily, probably consider the hardest piece. The tape end of the tape starts on the anterior talofibular. You're going to pull it across the medial malleolus. Okay, so anterior talofibular to medial malleolus, it's a slight diagonal up. Your opposite hip, you're going to now pull it to the opposite hip from where it is. Okay? It goes under the foot, back on top. You're now right where you were when you started. You're then going to go over the lateral malleolus. The tape should drop straight to the ground. Pull it to the opposite hip, under the foot, back on top. And that is one set of heel locks. You're going to do two. Okay, so again, we're going to start at the point of injury. Medial malleolus, pulling to my opposite hip, locking the heel, under the foot, back on top, lateral malleolus, straight to the ground, opposite hip, lock the heel, under the foot, back on top. Okay? If it's an eversion, where would you start the tape? Medial malleus, the deltoid reason. What would you do with the stirrups differently if it was an eversion? Pulling them into inversion. Okay, so be aware that when you tape the lab practical, I'm going to ask you to tape an inversion, because that's what you're most likely going to be taping. But be prepared for what would you do differently if it's an eversion. Okay, so those are the heel locks. The next part is the figure eight. In the figure eight, you can see a number of ways. I start it typically part of the downward diagonal on the figure eight. This is the bottom circle. That's the top circle. Okay, and I reverse them. So the first one I had diagonally towards the medial. Now I'm going to go diagonally towards the lateral. Around the foot. That's the bottom part of the figure eight. And just to follow Patrick's contour, that's the top part of the figure eight. Okay. Then you just finish up with a re-anchoring bottom and top, and you're good to go. All right?